What's up friends, it's Valentin Kosenko, and in today's video you'll learn how you can keep track of all your passwords. And by the way, all of this is free since KeePass is an open source software, and if you do it like me, you'll be able to connect it with cloud storage and access all your passwords from every single device you have, which is so comfortable. So let's get started. Okay, so the first thing we have to do is open our browser and go to keepass.info/download.html, but I'll also leave the links in the description below. The next thing you have to do is download the portable version. Right now we're at version 2.44. I'll download it. As soon as you've downloaded it, you'll have to unzip it. Then open the folder and open keepass.executable. Enable automatic update checks. And now we can create our database where you'll store all your passwords and even other information if you'd like to. The first thing you have to do is click on File and then click on New. Then it gives you a quick reminder that you should also keep backups of your database, so in case it gets lost, you still have all your passwords. Click on OK and choose a place where you want to save your database. I'll save mine in the same folder as KeePass, and I'll tell you later why I do it this way. Okay, so the next thing we have to do is choose a strong password. And let me give you some tips on this one, because I think that some people are still struggling with good passwords. I would try to think of a sentence that I can memorize easily and then modify it so that no brute force attacks are possible. And yeah, let me just make an example. First click here so that you can see your password. Let's for example say hello underscore this underscore is underscore my powerful underscore database underscore key phrase exclamation mark. So as you can see, we already have a very strong password with 45 characters, which is also quite easy to remember since it's just one sentence. And the next thing to do is replace some of the letters with numbers. And I would do the following and just replace all the E's with a 3. So, hello, this is my powerful database key phrase. And as you can see, we have 45 characters, 177 bits of estimated quality, which is the quality rating of this password. And this is pretty strong. You probably won't have to worry about brute force attacks with this kind of password. Now, of course, you should not be using the exact same password. Just think of your favorite things and I'm sure you'll get a hang of it. But before we click on OK, let's show the expert options because we still have some more advanced options here. Let's talk about the one that I would not recommend, which is the Windows user account. If you check this, then you'll have to be in the Windows account that you're currently using, and no one else will be able to access that database. But if you, for whatever reason, use your Windows account because you have to format your drive and reinstall Windows, then you'll have no chance to open up your database, which is horrible. But there's another way, and that's what we'll be doing. We'll create another key file. Let's do that here. Then we'll be saving this, not in the same folder, but we'll be saving it into downloads for now, and I'll tell you why in a moment. Now you have to make a quick entropy collection by moving your mouse around here and typing a few random letters. And by the way, the reason that you have to do this is pretty simple. It's because computers cannot produce real random passwords. And explaining that would take way too much time, so you have to make it random by moving your mouse in very different ways and putting some numbers in here so that your password has a random component to it. And yeah, as soon as we've done that, click on OK. And now we have a composite master key, which means that we'll have to use this file as well as our master password to open up our database. So you don't want to lose that database key, because if you do, then even if you still have your password, you'll not be able to access your database. But this is still important if you're going to upload your database into something like Dropbox later on, because then you'll be able to save your database key on your PC, your smartphone, and so on. And no one that gets access to your Dropbox, for example, will be able to access your database, even if they have your password, because they don't have the database key. So this is the reason why you can upload your database to something like Dropbox without the fear of losing your data. Okay, then click on OK. And now we have to give it a database name. Let's just call it passwords. If you want, you can specify a description here, and you can also use a default username for new entries, which would normally be your email. Let's just say user@mail.com. Now, if you click on the security tab, you'll be able to define the number of iterations for your database key, and this depends on your computer. If you have a lot of performance, then you can increase the number here and test it. And as you can see, the test succeeded. Our key transformation took 0.042 seconds, which is really, really fast. And if we wanted to, we could put another 0 here. And as you can see, it's still only 0.044 seconds. So let's just go with that many iterations. Next, go to the recycle bin, where you'll be able to use a recycle bin for all your database files. And in case you delete something, you'll still be able to get that information. And only if you delete the files inside your recycle bin, it will be gone. This can be useful if you do it by accident or something, so you should definitely use that feature. Then click on Advanced, and here you can set up a reminder for yourself if you want to change your master key after a certain amount of days. In this case, we'll not be doing that, and we'll click on OK. Now, this is important. KeePass gives you an option to print a emergency sheet in case you lose your password or something. And you should really print that emergency sheet, because if something happens to your master password, you'll still be able to access your database. Let's do that. And now let's take a look at the KeePass user interface. On the left side, you have different groups, which are used for organizing your passwords. And let me just quickly show you how you can add another group. Right click, add group. Let's call it test. And as you can see, it's now part of home banking. If you want, you can drag it over here. And if you want to move it, you have to press Alt and use the arrow keys. And this way, you'll be able to quickly organize all of your passwords. Now let's say I want to add a new entry inside this folder. You have two options to do that. You can either click on the key right here, or you can press Ctrl-I on your keyboard. Then this window will pop up where you'll be able to specify a title. I will be calling it Notepad, and I'll explain in a moment why. We'll leave it the way it is right now. And as you can see, it has chosen a random password for us, but we could also click here and then use a hex key with 40, 128 or 256 bits, or we can open the password generator. And here you'll be able to choose options for your password. You can specify the length of the generated password and choose whether you want to use any symbols or letters or digits and so on. Now let's say I want a password with a length of 30 characters. I want uppercase and lowercase letters as well as digits. And I also would like to include exclamation marks and question marks. If you click on Advanced, you'll have a few more options. Each character must occur at most once. Let's check that. And let's also check exclude lookalike characters like capital I and L or something like that. Then let's go on preview. And as you can see, here are a few examples of what your password could look like. Now let's go back to settings and save the current settings as a profile. We'll call it 30 characters with letters, digits, and exclamation and question mark. Click on OK, press OK again. And now you'll be able to generate passwords based on this new password generator that we've just created. And as you can see, it works perfectly. Next up, you can also specify an icon for your password. You can even use some custom ones. And by the way, there are also some plugins where you can scrape data from websites. So if, for example, you'd like to use the Facebook logo or the Instagram icon or whatever, you'll be able to do that. I'll also paste the links in the description below for that. But you can also add your own icons by clicking on Add. And as you can see, there are some supported file formats which you can choose here. But I'll leave the customization to you since I think you're creative enough to do that on your own. Okay, so now let's click Cancel. Now, if we wanted to use this password on a specific website, we'd be entering the URL here, but for our testing purposes, I'll not be doing it. And by the way, if you also want to put some notes down here, you can do that, which is a great thing because no one will be able to read these, except for if they have the composite master key, which I hope they don't, but you can never be safe enough. So yeah, let's go on. Talking about safety, in some cases, you might want your password to expire. And if you do, then you can click here and specify either an exact date or let's say a month from now. But it will not be doing that, so let's head to auto type. And this is where the magic comes into play, because you'll be able to access all your data by pressing Ctrl, Alt, and A. And we'll do that in a short moment. But let me first explain what options you have here. The first thing, of course, we want to enable auto type for this entry. And also there's something called 2-channel auto type obfuscation, which we'll check. This might not work with all windows, you'll have to test this. But the thing is, if you activate this, then your password will not be written normally. And I think the best way to explain this is by showing you how it actually works. So let's click on OK to save this entry. And now let's open up Notepad for demonstration purposes. So as I said, on your keyboard, you have to press Ctrl, Alt, and A, and then KeePass will write your password down. So let's just do that. And as you can see, KeePass has not written your password normally. It has pasted some of the characters, then it went back and put some more characters inside. And that's what the 2-channel auto type obfuscation is. So let's just quickly disable it so that you see the difference. And as you can see, this time it wrote the password normally. So you might be asking yourself, why is this useful? You might have heard the term keyloggers in the past. And if you don't worry, it's nothing complicated. This is some sort of virus which logs all the things you type into your keyboard. So if we were not using the 2-channel auto type obfuscation, the keylogger would track the entire password. But if we use 2-channel auto type obfuscation, then even if we have a keylogger on our device, the password will still be safe because it's not written in the real order. So this way you can make sure that your passwords are safe even if your PC is infected. Okay, so let's go back to KeePass and open our entry once again and go to auto type. And now let's take a look here. It says username, tap, password, enter. So what does that mean? If we go into Notepad once again and press Ctrl Alt A, as you can see, the first thing it does is type the username, then press tap, and then enter the password, and then press enter for a new line. So in some cases, it might be that this kind of default sequence is not working for your website, because sometimes you first have to enter your username and then you press on enter and a new site opens up and only then you can paste your password and press enter. So you might want to change that. And if you do, you just click on override default sequence, click on edit, and then you can choose a few more options from this list down here. Let me just quickly show you one way to do it. Let's remove tap right here and then type delay 1000 for a 1 second delay, then open up 2 more brackets, type enter, password, enter. So let's save this. Oh, and by the way, let's enable 2-channel auto obfuscation again. Click on OK. Let's go back to Notepad. And if we press Ctrl Alt A again, see what happens. So as you've seen, KeePass first wrote down our username, then it waited for a second, it pressed enter for a new line, and then pasted our password and pressed enter again. So in some cases, you might want to do that if your website requires that. And this right here is the setting that you'll have to modify. So now you know how to do it. So now that we know how to create new entries and how you can modify your password generator, use dual channel auto obfuscation and that kind of stuff, let's take a look at some of the options that KeePass offers. Now let's go into integration. And if you take a look here, the standard key combination is Ctrl Alt A, just as I've said. And if you only want to paste the password, you'll have to press Ctrl Alt Shift A. Let's try that out. And as you can see, it works out perfectly. This might be useful if you've already pasted your username by yourself and you just want to paste your password. So that's where this comes in handy. Next, let's click on Advanced, and I'll show you one more option, which I think is quite useful. You'll see one option right here which says always show global auto type entry selection dialog. Let's check it and click on OK. And now if we go to our Notepad again and we press Ctrl Alt A, it will show this auto type entry selection where we'll be able to choose our password from our database. And this is useful if you have multiple accounts, and also in some cases when KeePass does not recognize your window, you'll be able to choose the password yourself, and it will make sure that KeePass does not paste anything into the browser that does not belong there. So this is very useful. Now let's take a look at our entry again. And as you can see, for our title, I have chosen Notepad. If this was a website like Facebook, for example, I would be typing Facebook in here instead. If you want to know what you have to write inside the title, you can just look at the title bar of your window and you'll know what to do. So for Notepad, it's just Notepad. In some cases though, this might not be enough. So that's where URL comes into play. And if you do that, normally everything will be fine. But if in some case KeePass is not able to find your database entry, then you'll go onto properties and add a few more tags so that then KeePass can check if these tags are included in the title and this way show it up in your auto type entry selection as soon as you press the key combination. So if for whatever reason your password is not shown, it is probably because of this. And if we want KeePass to check the title for these tags, then we also have to go into Tools, Options once again, go on Advanced, and then if we scroll down here, we should also check an entry matches if one of its tags is contained in the target window title. So let's do that. And let's also check the other two options. And this option right here, which says an entry matches if its URL is contained in the target window title, this is something that browsers normally don't do. But if you use a plugin, you'll be able to paste that web address into the title, and this way KeePass will be able to recognize your database entry, which is also useful if you run into any problems. Now, if we scroll down a little bit more, we'll also be able to choose two options in case our window or our title changes. This can be useful if you accidentally click on something else so that it does not send your password, and you should make sure to click on these two. Once again though, if your website or software or whatever requires that you first enter your username, then click enter and it changes the title, then you'll have to disable this option because it might lead to a problem where KeePass will just stop typing your password. But for now, I'll just leave this activated. Okay, so next I want to show you a few more options you have with KeePass. If you right click on one entry, you can duplicate that entry and append copy to the entry title, then click on OK. And now I want to show you one tool which is really helpful if you use the same password in different places, which is something that you definitely should not do. So let's go on Find and then click on Duplicate Passwords. And as you can see, KeePass now shows the duplicate passwords right here, which is really useful if you have many entries in your database so that you can keep track of everything. And in case you have duplicates, you can just quickly go inside here, click on 30 characters with letters, create a new password, click OK, then go into Find again, duplicate passwords, and as you can see now we have no more duplicate passwords. If you click on Find, you also have a few more options like similar passwords or password quality. Let's check that out. And as you can see, some of our entries have a similarity of around 6.67%, which is not a lot, so you shouldn't be worrying about this. But if you click on Find and click on Password Quality, you'll see that our passwords have a quality of 184 and 188 bits, while the two sample entries that were already inside of this database only have a quality of 6 and 14 bits, which is due to the very short password length. And yeah, you should never use password as your password because I don't even know. And then also you can quickly move your entries around. Just select them, drag them over into a new folder. You can select multiple entries and delete all of them. And as you can see now, the two sample entries are inside the recycle bin, and you can also empty the recycle bin if you want to, so then your data is lost forever. But I like to just leave them there in case I need it because I did not change my password or something, so you still have that option. Okay, so I have only shown you how it works inside Notepad, but of course we want to use it on a real website, and that's why I'll be opening up my main database now, and I'll show you how it works for Google, for example. Let's just quickly save that database, exit. Now, once again, what I have done is I have taken that KeePass folder and I have pasted it inside my Dropbox so that I have access to my KeePass everywhere. And if you remember, that's where I put my database file. But our database key should not go into our Dropbox. In case someone gets inside our Dropbox, even if they know our password, they'll not be able to access our database. Oh, and once again, I'd like to remind you that you should make backups of your database. So in case something happens to it, you'll still have a duplicate, and yeah, just stay on the safe side with this. Okay, now let me quickly open up my database. And as you can see, we have our key file here, which is saved on my local computer, and we have our master password here, Let me just quickly type that in. Now I can enter my database. And as you can see, I have a huge folder structure, but let me show you how I can quickly log in into something like Google. So I could once again press Ctrl-Alt-A, and then the auto type entry selection will pop up, and I'll be able to click on my entry. And as you can see, it first entered my username, then it pressed enter, then I had a delay of around 1 second, then it pasted my password and it pressed enter again. So that's why in some cases you have to change that default sequence. Now, when it comes to Facebook, you have a normal layout where you just have to paste your username, then press tab, then paste your password and press entry. Let's do that. And as you can see, in this case, it shows Google and Facebook entries. So that's the reason why you should go into your options and enable the feature so that you always see the auto type entry selection. And yeah, I'll choose Facebook and it will paste my username and password once again, and I can log in. So now that we've talked about the desktop version of KeePass, let's take a look at keepass.info/downloads.html once again, because if you take a look at the website, you have a few more download links at the bottom, and you'll find different versions for both Androids, your iPhone or iPads, whatever, even for macOS X. So this is great. And once again, KeePass is open source, so this is totally free. It's such an awesome piece of software, and I've been using it for the past few years and it never let me down. It makes my life so much easier. Go ahead and install that masterpiece of a software. And by the way, since KeePass is open source software, please go ahead and make a donation if you can to help the developers out, because they're doing it for free and that's just a small way of saying thank you. So yeah, I'll also go ahead and make a quick donation now. And by the way, this does not need to be a huge amount of money. It's just a small way to say thank you. Let's put a message here as well. Thank you for creating such an awesome piece of software. All the best, Valentin Kosenko. Okay, let's donate. Let's go back to the KeePass page once again. And the last thing I want to show you are the plugins and other extensions. And if you take a look here, there are quite a few extensions for KeePass. And as I've already told you before, you can get things like URL and title bar, or you can download icons directly using KeePass, which is great for organizing different entries. And there are also a few more things like KeePass Sync, so that you can synchronize between different devices if you're not using Dropbox or something like that. There are also options for Google Drive or OneDrive, or yeah, you'll find many more extensions here. At this point, I think everything has been said. If you've got any more questions concerning KeePass, please let me know. If you'd like to see another tutorial for Android, then please let me know in the comments below. Other than that, I really hope you enjoyed this video. And if you did, please make sure to leave a comment for the algorithm, and maybe even a thumbs up if you liked it that much. And if you didn't, of course, give me a thumbs down. Yeah, and I guess I'm done. Shout out to Gerald Undone, by the way. This melody, never losing it. You should really make sure to check out his channel because he's doing awesome videos. I guess I'm done.